Actually, I feel like dance and movement could fit really well into this too.
Ah,
We'll see. I
cool.
left a little bit of this is about 1 hour, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or it can go as long as like the storytelling one was over 2 hours, right, Apollonia?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Alejandro. It was almost like a college class
Oh, wow.
seminar thing. It was
Okay.
good. They've all been great. The songwriting was good, storytelling was great, movement was great. I wish more people had the opportunity to join us because I've loved these. I mean, I wake on Friday, I'm like, tomorrow's a workshop.
That's so
So we'll see.
cool.
We'll see what
Okay,
happens.
well, if we have a little time, I might show a couple of old Cinepoems. We'll see. Oh, look, someone's here.
Yeah, her name is Iman has been posting it as this all of our workshops as Eventbrite. So Kira is joining
Oh,
us via Eventbrite. So she's new to the family today.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Welcome, Akira.
And I think for storytelling, didn't we have people from London or songwriting? One we had that, and then last week I can't remember.
Last week
Aline.
was the movement.
Yeah, yeah, and the woman who didn't want her camera on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I sent her the video because I sent her the video of how the whole thing turned out. Hi, Akira. How are you?
Oh, I see in the chat.
Oh, she's in the chat. We're so glad you're here. Do you mind telling me where where you're from? Oh, I suppose I should tell you who I am. I'm Fran. I'm the executive director and founder of Breaking Walls. And on the screen is Charlotte, who is our, and then Apollonia is a Brooklyn artist, even though she lives in Manhattan. Do you live in Manhattan? Oh, she's from Maryland. Cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Welcome. And so let me see. Fran's going to see what time it is. Oh, it's 10:01. Let's see, what's happening. If not, we'll start and then add people as we as they arrive into the waiting room. I'll keep my eyes on the waiting room.
I guess I'm a little curious if you guys want to just chat a little bit about. So we're looking at Cinepoems today,
Mm-hmm.
which is sort
Mm-hmm.
of an experimental film form, and I'm wondering what like comes to mind for you guys when I say experimental film. Like, is that something you've ever seen before, or maybe I could say video art instead? I'm just curious about what your background knowledge might be on that, or whether you've seen experimental films before or things that look maybe like that. Yes, Fran.
I'm happy to start because, first of all, I'm really excited for today, as I've already mentioned. Um, when I was at university, I took an independent class in printmaking.
Hmm.
It was a semester long, and I could design my whole curriculum. And so I did all these, for me, experimental pieces. I carved in wood, I carved in stone, but the most exciting thing I did was I got pieces of soft pine. And then I went to the hardware store and I bought all of this like unbelievable array of like nuts and bolts and nails. And then I would find things on the street and then I would make these designs using these found objects. And then I would do the prints from them. And sometimes I would have, more than one design. I'd have like three that I was printing one on top of another. And so to me, that always comes to mind is that you're sort of, and the same I feel for when I'm doing hand-built pottery. It's all experimental because you just don't know. All art is experimental. My art professor at university said to me, people always think that art majors are like, oh yeah, you're just in the studio drawing. But really, once you put one stroke on the paper, then everything has to be addressed around that one stroke. And perhaps Apollonia feels the same way as she's creating choreography. Once you have one initial movement, then everything builds around that. You can go anyway. That's what I think.
No, that's a lot. That's very helpful. And it does connect to a lot of what we're gonna talk about today, which is great. I don't know if Apollonia, if you or Kira have any, I don't know, background or thoughts on what experimental might mean in film. Could share in the chat or just
Um, I agree with Miss Fran. And
Uh, Will you please try that sentence again now that you're part of the family?
I completely agree with Fran because um I just yeah, because experimentals is like it's not like guaranteed, like you don't know what's gonna come out. I don't know that much about film, but it's really like interesting to me. And also I remember learning about it in 8th grade, in your class. And I just wanted to let you know that I've been looking forward to this for like the whole entire week.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. I was hoping you would be here. And I actually, you'll see at the end of the presentation, I linked. So, just for context, I was Apollonia's eighth grade teacher last year. And I teach ELA in middle school. But at the end of last year, we did this unit where we were looking at adaptations of books into films. And so we got to do something that I loved, which was exploring like film language and how people can communicate ideas through how they show things in a film. So we learned about camera angles and shot composition and color, and it was a lot of fun. And so at the end, I'm not going to go too deep in this workshop into all of those things, but I put some resources if you want to learn more about like camera angles and shot composition to do a cinepoem. So I put some of those might be familiar to you in the end, Apollonia. I think what both of you are saying too, just about all art is sort of experimental, that helps us understand what experimental film is too. It is like a specific genre within film, but I think the main thing is that it's sort of a non-linear art form. You don't start going in like, okay, I'm going to tell a story about this character. I'm going to introduce them, then a conflict happens, and then there's a resolve. It's done in more of a circular, abstract way. You start kind of with like an image or an idea that excites you, and then you just see where it goes. It doesn't need to kind of happen in the same kind of like plot structure that you expect when you go to see most longer movies. And also, because of that, a lot of experimental films are shorter in length. They're usually short films. And I see, Akira, you mentioned, I don't think so, or I haven't, I didn't know what it was. I think what I'll do is I will show you some older experimental films so you can kind of just see what they look like. I don't know, Fran and Apollonia, you're in New York City. I'll also, have you guys both been to the fourth floor of MoMA recently? Or in the past like 5 to 10 years?
I think I went there like 5 probably years ago, I'm not sure. But I don't
So
know if it's on the 4th floor. No.
So they did this really cool thing. We're now on the fourth floor of MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art. It's all dedicated to video art and experimental film. So some of the films that I might show you today are actually up there. So a lot of times experimental films are more shown in the context of like an art gallery where people can come and watch them. You don't need to see them from beginning or end necessarily. You could see just like a clip or two, and they're shown like next to paintings. You also, I think, see a lot of techniques from experimental film in like modern music videos. So, even like Taylor Swift's recent video, I feel like she's kind of like cutting between different things. It's not super story based, and they are playing a lot with visual storytelling. So I think that might be a good connection also. Like think about a lot of modern music videos, they actually are stealing things from old experimental film artists from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Okay, should I
Yeah,
share
let's
the
go.
screen and
And
let's start?
as people join because of the time differences, I know Sherwin can't come today, he has to work again. And Katrin, who's at the university, the American University in Prague, has a class. And so
Mm.
as people, and I don't know about Moha and Monse and other people. So
Okay, well, we could get started. I'll
sounds
also
like
say
a
like
plan.
this workshop is going to connect poetry also to film. It's a part of the name Cinepoem. And part of that is because right now I'm teaching a poetry unit in school and it's just been inspiring me a lot. And I want to kind of share with you how you can take something from poetry and turn it into cinema. It and actually works really well with this sort of experimental kind of avant-garde filmmaking style. So let me share my screen. Okay, can you guys see it? All right. So welcome to the workshop. We're going to talk about cinepoems and also look for places where poetry hides in our lives. And that's going to kind of help us then turn a poem into something more visual. This will kind of just be an hour to experiment, notice, and play around with poetic and cinematic imagery. We're going to explore where poetry hides in our lives and then how these moments might become short films or cinepoems later on. So let me just tell you a little bit about what cinepoems are. Okay, so what is a cinepoem? Um, a cinepoem blends poetry and film. So language becomes image, rhythm becomes movement, feeling becomes angle and light. Anyone can make one. All you need is a camera or an iPhone, and a poem that matters to you. So sometimes for cinepoems, people will take a poem from another artist and translate that into a film. Today, we're going to try writing a poem, our own poems, and maybe even one together as inspiration. But if later on you want to try another poem to turn into a film, you can do that too. So we're going to explore where poetry hides, write or choose a poem, and then begin to imagine how it would live visually. And if you look at the pictures on the side, these are kind of starting to introduce you into that like older avant-garde sort of film world. These are all stills from Man Ray. He's a 1920s French kind of surrealist filmmaker. He's really cool. And if you can see, you can see he's like playing a lot with like extreme close-ups of a face, odd sort of angles, but he is focusing on images. He's just showing them in slightly different ways. Um, so before we go deeper into the film aspect, I kind of want to start with writing poetry, if you guys want to do that. Um, and then we'll look more into how to translate that into film. So we'll look for images and details that might already be poems waiting to be found in your life, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to show you a prompt that I actually gave to my seventh graders a couple of weeks ago. And I was a little nervous at first. I was like, I don't know it was like a last minute inspiration sort of thing. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. And they just really blew me away with how they interpreted it. The reason why I wanted to do it in this way is because I noticed where when they were writing poems, some of them were trying to go into trying to write a poem and like this is how a poem should sound versus like this is a poem that I'm authentically writing for my voice. Like I'm going to write a big poem about love or about this emotion or this emotion, but then it wouldn't necessarily sound like them. So I kind of was looking back at like, okay, we need more concrete images. Feelings and big ideas are good, but for your reader to really like be able to experience those, you need like sensory details and description as well. There's got to be a balance. So have any of you heard of William Carlos Williams before? The poet? Fran, you have? I highly suggest him, Apollonia and Akira. He's an older American poet, and I remember when a ninth grade teacher first showed me his poem, The Red Wheelbarrow, for the first time, and we read it, and he was just like, what does this mean? And I was like, I was very confused because his poems are extremely simple. The whole Red Wheelbarrow poem is, it's almost like a painting, but with words. I'm trying to remember a little bit in my head. So much relies on a red wheelbarrow. And then he talks about some chickens and a watering can by its side. And I just remember being so perplexed, like, I don't know what this means. But then my teacher was like, well, it's not so much about the big ideas, it's about the description of the image that he's showing you. So that's kind of where I was inspired by this Where Poetry Hides for Me writing invitation. So William Carlos Williams was insisted that poems be grounded in everyday experience. We should be able to see, hear, taste, touch, and smell the real stuff of our lives in poetry. And he had this mantra: say it, no ideas, but in things. So instead of starting with the ideas, we're going to start with the things. So your job now is to discover what are your things that might hide poetry. And you don't totally need to know why yet. But take a moment to reflect on your environment. Consider the light bulb flickering overhead, the soup simmering on the stove, or the laughter of a loved one. Search your environment and memory for places that poems lurk for you. Um, I gave this writing invitation to the seventh graders, and I told them, go home, look through your house, ask your family, think about it when you're walking home from school. Like, what are those images that stand out to you most that you can't stop thinking about? Like, what captures your eye and your imagination? So I want to send you guys off into kind of just listing a few places, but I'm gonna read for you just maybe as a little inspiration my Where Poems Hide for Me list before we start, if that's okay. Um, so this is mine, Where Poems Hide for Me. In the top drawer of my childhood dresser, in the coffee stains in Dad's car, in my bin of old t-shirts I can't part with but won't wear anymore, in the light bulbs in room 417 that are slightly different shades than the rest, in chicken tortilla soup, in the back row of La Paloma Theater, in the highest branch of the magnolia tree which only I could get to, in the spines of books, in phone calls with Mom, in that one key on the grand piano that never quite could get unstuck. And that's my list right now. I'm still kind of building it. But I hope that maybe just gives you more of a concrete idea of what you might list or what you might do in your Where Poetry Hides little draft that I'm going to ask you to work on right now. So you could get up out of your, if you want to go off the Zoom for a second and actually look. I don't know what spaces you guys are in, but if you're at home, that's actually a great place to sort of look around, look at those things that you collect and that hide stories and memories for you. And then my one sort of rule is I want you to start every line of your list with in, so that's just settled in that kind of repetition of in this place, in this place, in this place. Any questions before I maybe give, I don't know, like 5 minutes just for you guys to explore? Okay. So if you want to stay on, or you can, you could turn off your camera or keep it on. But let's take like 5 minutes to make a list. Go for specificity, but also quantity. And then we'll regroup at 10:23, 2022. Okay? Okay. That was about 5 minutes. I came up with a few things. Um, how do you feel? Do you guys want more time? I kind of want more time too. Okay, let's take another couple of minutes. Maybe regroup around 10:25. Okay. How did this go for you guys? Do you have a list of a few things? Okay. I added a few more. I'm still thinking about them. I was looking around my room and I was inspired by I love seashells. And this, yeah, Apollonia I used to have when we
The
did Lord of the Flies.
conch.
It's the conch, yes. And it does make a loud horn sound, but for me, I wrote a new line, and the soft sound of a seashell against my ear. And I think it's also about the touch too, but something about that sensory feeling, um, for me hides a lot of meaning, and I think it's because I'm from a beach town originally, from San Diego. And so growing up, I could always kind of hear the soft sound of the ocean in the background. So even though it's really like cold to touch to my ear, there's something really comforting and homey about the sound of the ocean that comes out of a seashell. Oh, we have someone new. So,
Oh, it's Iman.
should we? I pressed admit.
Thank you. And I did too. She's joining
Okay,
now
great. Welcome, Iman.
from the Tangier delegation.
Welcome, welcome. So, Iman, you're just jumping in, but we just did a little bit of kind of listing and poetry writing, looking for places where poetry hides in our lives. And we just took a few minutes to list a few places. But hi. I was wondering if for Fran, Apollonia, and Akira, if you guys would be comfortable, maybe we could share some of our places in the chat. So this is kind of what I was thinking. If everyone could choose a line from their list and have it ready, like type it up in the chat. You could do a couple too if you'd like. And then I was going to give a countdown, and then together we could all press enter. And then there's just going to be a cascade of places. So we'll kind of get an impromptu group poem of where poetry hides for us in this Breaking Walls workshop. So let me see if here, I want to shift my screen for a little bit. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see the chat for a second. Um, and I'm gonna type in, if you guys could join me, one or two of your places hiding poetry that you kind of just brainstormed. And then I'll give a countdown and we can all press enter and share. Okay, are you guys ready? Okay, take a second. I'm sort of editing mine too. Beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna put mine in too, okay? Boom.
Could we do like two or three or just one?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Definitely. I did too. Beautiful. Okay. I'm just gonna read them all through, if you guys don't mind, so we can hear like our impromptu poem together. And I'm just gonna do it in the order that we have here. Where Poetry Hides for Us. And Robert Shorty's Mabel clay and wooden sculptures of indigenous women radiating the immense spirit of all women, and a seashell against my ear, and my bending shadow on the sidewalk. In the chair sits my 11-year-old roommate and crumb thief, in the sheets that covered me through middle and high. In the back of my bookshelf sit hundreds of books that call to be dusted. In my drawer are sweet letters of lost friends. In its case rests a violin that had not been strung in years but longs to be heard again. In the so-worn shoes that carried my footsteps across a multitude of breaking walls journeys. Beautiful. This is wonderful. Okay, so each of these lines could become a shot in a film. So we kind of just wrote a poetry together, and you can imagine each of these as a different cut, like one of Robert Shorty's wooden sculptures, one of a seashell against an ear, one of the chair sitting an 11-year-old roommate and crumb thief, or one of a bookshelf with tons of books that need to be dusted. And then the film language part comes in to how would you actually show these things? So for Fran, how would you want to actually show the sculptures? Would you want to be showing them up close and moving around or from far away and still? For me, with my seashell, would I want like a close up on an ear with a shell? Or would I want to see it maybe from a different angle, like from the inside? I think because I'd want to emphasize the sensory, I'd probably go for the ear because I want that cold kind of contrast. Or if you were doing a chair with Crumb Thief, there's like a memory in there. So you to show that you might want to put some like crumbs and sort of mess up the chair a little bit so you can see the traces left behind by the thief. Or for the bookshelf of books, again, you want to see the dust, so maybe it would be up close. Maybe you could even show movement of a hand dusting them off or blowing off of the dust, something like that. That's kind of where the film language comes into play. I'm going to share my screen again. Here we go. Okay, great. Thank you for doing this, guys. I know it's sometimes a little bit scary to share impromptu poetry lines, but we just made a really great poem together. Um, I'm gonna sort of, now that we've done the poem, before we go into talking about like how would we want to show these things in a film, I want to sort of show you some of those older experimental films a little bit so you have that in your mind and they could maybe inspire you to when we go into discussing how to show them. So here's a closer look. A Synod poem is basically an artistic fusion of poetry and cinema. So the poetry translates into different camera shots. The language becomes imagery and emotion. You want to invite your audience to, experience it rather than just simply understand it. And if you look, these are all different stills on the left from my favorite experimental filmmaker. I think if you guys like dance and movement, you would really like her. Her name's Maya Deren. And these are all different shots from her film Meshes of the Afternoon. She's actually performs in it and she moves in it. And there's sort of a rough story, but it's not linear. So it sort of jumps around and she plays a lot just with like strong imagery and movement. I'm going to just show you a couple of, this is more of my brief history, and then I would love to show you a bit of Maya Deren's Meshes of the Afternoon. Before her, there was Man Ray. I showed you a couple of his pictures earlier. You remember the stills on the side? So he really started this form in the 1920s. And his famous film is The Starfish. If you're interested in that one, it's on YouTube, but and it's free, but I won't show it here. It's very surreal. He was surrounded by like the surrealists in Paris, and that's he had a friend who wrote a poem called The Starfish. And the friend's idea was that he wanted to write a love poem about longing, and he thought that the best image to capture that was a starfish. And I don't really know why. I think it's maybe kind of for him, it's just that image connects to that feeling for him. To do this kind of work, you got to go into that sort of synesthetic space of like what image or feeling connects to this emotion. And it might not make complete sense at first. But he was the first one to really do this. And his films are really interesting. I do suggest checking them out. But then later on, we have Maya Deren in the 40s. She was also playing with this form and she introduced a lot more movement. And then today, like I was saying, you see a lot more of these things reflected in like music videos, as opposed to like longer form movies. So I'm gonna show you a little bit of Meshes of the Afternoon. Sorry, my screen is so messy. And something about this film, it's silent. So Maya Deren, she did totally silent films, which is funny. I also used to do that a lot too. I don't know why the sound element always kind of confused me a little bit. However, you can add sound as well. Like for my seashell thing, I actually think I maybe would want to add sound since that is a part of it. But hers is silent. I'm gonna just show you a little bit of the beginning. Maybe we can just watch about 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of it. I'm gonna pause it here. I want to kind of leave it on this. Oh, it's okay. I like the figure with the mirror head. But I guess I want to just hear from you guys. How do you feel like this is different from a regular movie? Or why do you think what makes an image feel like poetic? What do you think of this? 'Cause there's not really too much of a story in here, but I do feel like there's some strong sort of feelings, and I wonder what you guys are thinking. Let me just close it a little bit here. Oops. Okay. What do you guys think of Maya Deren? Yeah, I'm on.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I love actually the silence movie. I think because usual movies are with voice and image and vocals. So the ones with no, like the ones who are silent are more into messaging and are more targeting something than the targeting something emotional than the usual movies. So this is why I think it's more emotional, and there is always a purpose in there, and it's fun actually, even if it's silence. But it is fun to watch it.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I follow, I think as people try to verbalize our emotions a lot. And so taking away like language and dialogue, it makes it so that you can't like pin them down to words. You need to show them in another way. It kind of, I don't know, makes it more abstract. Apollonia?
I wanted to say that I really liked how it was silent. I felt like it like you could take it however you wanted, and it felt like much deeper than like anything else, even if it was so short and um like not the length of a normal movie, and it didn't have any like noise, but I felt like you could like understand it more almost. So I really liked it.
Yeah, it's almost like it's hard to put a finger on it, but it pushes you to connect with it in more of a raw way. That allows you to wonder instead of just jumping into like analysis. Fran?
Um, I agree with both Apollonia and Iman's assessment. I also want to tag on that it just, because especially it was black and white, so there were no what I would consider context clues from the color, from the vocals, from the non-synchronous music. None of those were present, and it allowed my imagination to completely envelop me. And I liked that about it.
Nice. I um I love black and white films, and I think it's because it makes you look at things differently. Like just making it down into black and white, but then you see there's so many other colors in there. Like there's like the dark blacks, and then there's maybe a softer gray mid-tone, and then bright white. And you get to see so many other colors in black and white, and also gets you to focus on shadow and contrast, and I think shape in a different type of way. Um, awesome. Okay, thank you for watching that. So I kind of now want to go back to our poems, and I was thinking maybe we could discuss how we could show some of our lines in a shot of film. So I kind of came up with a few different discussion sort of questions, like how can we translate these? You could choose to talk about the line that you shared in the chat, or a different line, but I'm just wondering what you guys are thinking about, like what distance would fit the mood, what kind of colors, what angles, movements, or even if you wanted to add sound, what would that be? So we could talk, maybe we could just talk all together about our lines. Or we could do breakout rooms, but I think we're a small enough group that maybe we could just talk together. I feel like I've talked a little bit about my seashell, but I could start with a different line that I wrote that was a little bit shorter in my bending shadow. And I think to show that because there's the the bending aspect, that's like a continuous verb. It's like an ongoing action. To me, it would have to have movement. Um, I would need to see the shadow moving. And I probably would need to do like a higher sort of angle looking down at the floor, and I'd want to see my personal shadow kind of moving a bit. I think I would maybe do like a couple different shots to play with the movement because the poetry in that for me is the change of form. Even though it's my shadow, it keeps moving. So I'd probably do like a couple of different shots with some camera movements and some cuts so that it feels like it's constantly sort of changing. Versus with the seashell, I think I would want to just do one stable shot of it, kind of up close of an ear. But I would maybe move the camera a little bit, but I'd want it to be more stable. That's what I'm thinking for mine. Does anybody want to share their thoughts on how they might do one of their lines?
I would either do the one about the bookshelves or the letters. Maybe the letters because it's shorter. But I have an idea for both of them. The violin seems like it would take like a lot of shots, so I'd probably not do that
You
right now.
could do multiple if you wanted to, I could say, but I understand it's like when you're doing like a list of different images, balance is something to consider too. So like if it took longer to do the violin shot, then your viewer might then focus more on the violin as opposed to the other images. So that's just something to consider. What are you thinking with the letter shot? Like what would you want to show? Would you want
Um,
to show the context of the drawer or just the letters?
well, I was thinking like maybe I would like open the drawer and then I would like take all the letters that I have and like kind of spread them out already for when you open it and it would just be like all these letters and then maybe I'd end up like putting them on the desk and then putting them back in or just closing the drawer. I'm not sure. But
Ooh, I like that idea of playing with like the opening and the closing of the drawer because it's like you're sharing this sort of secret thing with the viewer, but also like in real life it hides inside of this drawer, which is away. So I kind of like playing with the opening and the closing, the taking out and the putting away. I think that's cool. Okay. What is anybody else thinking?
Well, first of all, this has really expanded my brain. So thank you. You cannot see it. Oh, well, maybe you can. Right here, if you can see it, I don't know if you can see, like this is a vintage washstand that I have next to my bed where I'm sitting here on the laptop. And there are 1, 2, 3 of my 4 Robert Shorty images of women. And I also have an extraordinary portrait that I took of him, just like randomly. It turned into this great portrait where he was covered in marble dust and working on a piece. And he sent me, and I bought a piece from him, and he sent me this amazing note of how I had asked for one thing, but he felt my spirit was so strong that he wanted to create something different. And so I think that I would somehow include all of that information in close-ups and coming back. And then I think this whole imagery where I have pictures of myself and this Native American dressed image woman, and then one that I got in Cape Town. I just think that all of it together would come into some sort of story of the strength and the spirituality of women. And it would take a lot of shots, and a lot of piecing together, but I think I could make it make sense. And I think I would have music, but somehow I'm hearing flute, but I don't know. That's where I'm at with that. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to even think in those terms.
That's really cool. I would say it's cool that you kind of have like a set scene already in your apartment, but there's like so many little things within it that you'd have to, capture all these different shots to expand. Like I can see you were talking about how they show like the power of women. And so if you want to start with that, you could do like a close up, like you were saying, just of the sculpture. So they look huge. And then slowly as it progresses, you zoom out and you see the context of like, oh, this is something that like lives in my apartment with me and is part of my home. And is actually something that you see every day. Um, yeah, that's really cool. Okay. I can't see the chat right now, but Akira, if you want to share in the chat or Iman, oh, here it is. There we go. Oh, I would do the chair shot from a low angle to show my dog laying, but only showing their face hanging off a little. Then pan up to show the crumbs on the chair that can't be seen from the low shot. That's beautiful. I like how you're thinking about different angles. A lot of times angles sort of communicate different forms of like, I guess, power dynamics. So I like the idea of starting with a low angle with the dog. Like this is one shot, but I feel like there's a whole story in there too. And like the face, like I'm seeing like the pressure of the face sort of leaning. Um, and then you zoom out and you see the crumbs of the wider story too. Awesome. I love that idea. Did anybody think about like color? Or like what kind of lighting you would want to show? Like, would you want it to be dark or bright kind of colors? Yeah, Fran?
Well, until you started to talk about Kira's images, which are terrific, as well as Apollonia's, I just was thinking, you know what? I think I would do it all in black and white until I had the montage of the spread of everything, including the plants, all together in color, vibrating
Interesting.
and womanhood. For me.
I like that idea. I feel like black and white oftentimes, especially now, communicates that something is like from another space or from another time or something that's more like, I don't know, classic or historical or something. And so I feel like it would be an interesting break to then change in the end to like, okay, this is actually something in my everyday life. That's cool. Um,
I'm not really sure because I was thinking like I'd want it to like maybe be dark like at the end or the beginning or both. But then like while opening it, then it would be like there would be like light to like show like um I don't know, but I'm just not really sure how I would do that.
this might seem strange, but you could use a flashlight. In film school, I used to do that a lot. You can get fancy lights and everything, but also you can play with stuff that you have at home. So you could just, if this is in your room, you could turn off all the lights in your room and then strategically use like lamps or a flashlight to shine a light on something so that you have that. Because it sounds like you kind of want like a contrast of light, like it's dark, and then when the letters are shown inside, then it's like, aha, sort of here they're glowing with inspiration and feeling and that sort of thing. So I would suggest turning the lights off in your room, getting a flashlight, or like even the light right next to you, you could probably angle that, like, and move it. And then while you're filming, just turn it on. That could maybe do the trick. Yeah. Akira, what are you thinking about color or lighting? Sorry, I don't mean to. Oh, there we go. I would have the lighting bright to show the grays on my dog.
Oh,
Yeah, I can like feel
ah,
that. It's really good imagery. Like you zoom in on the dog and then you just see those like few gray hairs. So sometimes you need lighting like that to show detail, which it seems like you want to do. I could also see like movement on the fur as well. That's a really nice idea. Okay, awesome. So, do you feel like after talking about this, your idea from the poem itself has kind of changed too? Like it's expanded?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I feel like sometimes taking these ideas and then thinking about them visually, it actually pushes you then to explore meaning in a different type of way, which is why I feel like I like experimental film. For me, I feel like with creative writing, it was always tough for me to verbalize, like, in a poetic way, like, this is why I care about this thing. And so, like, thinking about it with image, sound, lighting, and color was always my way of doing that. So thank you for trying that out. Yeah, like thinking about how you would show it in an angle. I don't know. It can help you understand why that thing stuck with you even more. Okay. So I want to kind of just give you guys some resources for how you can then take these things and work on making a cinepoem um after this workshop. So I made this little slide. There's some links to some videos if you want to learn a little bit more about shot composition and like the effects psychologically. So, like, sometimes a close up, for example, can show intimacy because, like, a close up of a face, for example, that means you're like right in someone's personal space. So that communicates intimacy. However, sometimes extreme close ups, like the one we saw in Maya Deren's, where it just shows like an eye, like one eye really big, blinking up and down, those sometimes can be more abstract, sometimes uncomfortable, um, and strange. They have more of like a strange psychological effect. Or like a long shot sometimes makes people feel more I guess, lonely because you're looking at something from far away. So if you want to think more about like the feelings behind shot composition, I've linked a video there. Maybe I can like share this slideshow with you guys through the chat. There's another one on lighting, which we kind of talked about, and it goes deeper into talking about like different angles of lighting and atmosphere too. And then the last video is sort of just on color theory and how color can communicate mood and emotion and tone. I put some free editing apps in there because you could technically just do a full video on your iPhone without cutting. But if you wanted to expand it to do multiple images, you're going to need to take the videos and then cut them together on a timeline. So the two I put there are free. CapCut is an online resource. You can download it. You can upload videos pretty easily, like through AirPlay or downloading them on your computer from your phone, and then upload them to CapCut. And then it can help you. You can like crop the length. It also has little tools for you to play with color. Like you could film something in color and then through CapCut change it to black and white. And then iMovie is also free. That one's a little bit more familiar to me. I know more about that one. If you're an Apple user, you have free access to that. So you can actually download iMovie on your iPhone or on your computer if you're an Apple user. I like if you're interested in getting more elaborate film editing tools, they do cost money. But you can get free trials of things like Final Cut Pro, which is that's the one that most people use. You just have to
Mhm.
use it. But CapCut and iMovie, you can do a lot with those. Um, and they are free and they're great. And if you have any questions or want to show me, um, your rough edits of what you make, I would love to see it. You can email me there if you want any, like, I don't know, thoughts on what you make. I'd be happy to share. Uh, and that's it. I'm wondering if you guys have any questions, especially about taking the shots and then putting them together. I don't know if, yeah, Apollonia?
I was wondering, is it gonna My guess is it's gonna be like a video, but or is it gonna be like the one from the beginning when it was like all the images like in a row?
Okay, so actually that is a full video, but then they just took stills, like a picture basically of each shot and then arranged them like that. You could do it like that. I actually think I love looking at there's like old film books that will just have the different stills like that. So I think that's kind of beautiful too. However, technically for it to be a film, you need like moving images. So if you want it to be a film, then I would say cut together the different clips. However, if you did like how that looked and you would want to make it more into like a stationary, like visual art sort of capturing of different stills next to each other, I think that could be really beautiful too. You could probably do that more on like Photoshop or even through Google Docs. Any other questions?
Charlotte.
Hi.
Hi. I wanna ask a question. When usually creating a scene, or just creating a script for this, do we usually also for films we think before creating everything we think of the audience, or we don't, or we just create and just put it and share it.
Good question.
Well, I think with even with like poetry writing, which I do with my ELA students, or when we're writing essays or something, I think, you know, you're usually pushed to think more about your audience. And I don't know, almost for this sort of filmmaking style, you do want to think about your audience because you want them to be able to experience, what you're trying to convey. But I would almost want you to think more personally and intimately at first, and then about audience later when you're kind of tying up the editing process. Because it doesn't follow the same sort of logic, I feel like, as like telling a story, like writing a creative story or doing a film with a plot. So you kind of have to push your audience then to follow your own logic, and that's more part of the process, I guess. So it's like you're thinking about audience by like giving yourself permission to put that for aside for a second, and then inviting them more into your mind, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yes, so you're telling, what I understood is when creating a film or a movie, usually the directors, they just, even if they have the idea, they still have to think about the audience, how they are going to receive it, right? They don't they don't just write their idea and just release it.
No, yeah, I would say with more traditional filmmaking, they are always thinking about the audience. I'd say with like most films that you're going to see in theaters, they are thinking a lot about the audience because they're trying to make, something that will make money and tell a story that people can latch on to. But this is a shorter form filmmaking style that's a little bit more like making a painting or um, something that you would see more in a gallery sort of setting, as opposed to like a large group of people sitting down in a theater for 2 hours to see a larger film. Yes.
Thank you.
Charlotte, oh, Akira, do you have a question? I don't want to cut you off if you do.
You know.
I've gotten such a kick out of meeting you, Akira. So thank you for joining us today. Charlotte, I can't thank you enough. And as I said, I only can speak for myself. My brain has been expanded. Expanded in like multiple ways. Because I'm thinking about me and my own creativity. I'm thinking about the upcoming virtual summit in 2 weeks. And I'm thinking about the Istanbul International Summit coming up in the summer and how all of this, works. Anyway, That's what I wanted to say because I want to make sure that Apollonia and Akira are aware that on the 22nd and the 23rd of November, we're having our International Art Summit. And this year's theme is peace, elusive, not an illusion. What do you want your art to stand for? And so we're going to be talking a lot about peace building within ourselves and also doing some writing and then going into breakout rooms where you can take your writing and work with Charlotte on cinema poems. You can work with Alejandro on storytelling. You can work with Angela on movement, and you can work with Montse on turning your writing into a song. So, and then we'll do our 2025 peace and acceptance statement then. And it's 2.5 hours on Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. here in New York to 12:30 p.m. here in New York. And we use that time slot because many of our young people come to us from international destinations, and we want to make sure that everybody's in a time frame that works, hopefully, for almost everyone. So feel free to join us. I believe Apollonia is. Akira, feel free to join us. Bring a friend, let people know. And Iman, anything you want to add to that?
Just said that I couldn't attend from the beginning because it's so interesting and beautiful to be here. Thank you so much, Charlotte. I can see how everybody is happy.
Yes, and welcome to the team. Charlotte is a brand new artistic mentor for Breaking Walls. So this is very exciting for us.
Welcome, Charlotte.
Thank
Again,
you.
to meet you.
Yeah, I'm excited to work with you. Well, Fran, if you could help me like share the slides, that way maybe Iman, you could see a little bit more from earlier.
What I'm going to do when I in about an hour, Zoom will, and I will edit out the beginning where I'm waiting for people to arrive, and then I post it. I post it on our YouTube channel, and I'll post it in our WhatsApp chat. And so if you're in agreement, I will add you to the group. I'll add you to the director team kind of thing for 2026. If you're, only with your permission, to the WhatsApp group and also to the larger WhatsApp group. So you're getting information with everybody all the time.
Okay, beautiful. That sounds perfect because then they can see the clips from the films too.
Yeah, they'll see the whole thing. And
Okay,
we've been getting really nice results with people checking out the videos of each workshop. And also, it's just such the gratitude that Breaking Walls and I have to you and Alejandro and Angela and Montse. I mean, these are like tutorials. They're like tutorials. I mean, they're really brilliant work. I mean, we're so lucky. We're so blessed. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all for, experimenting a little bit about how to look at things poetically, I guess. Here's my last line.
I wanted to say thank you so much. This was so fun. And it also helped me so much with like opening my mind to this new idea. So thank you.
Great. I'm so excited about that. And it's such a pleasure to get to work with you again, Apollonia. I know that you were interested in film at the end of last year, and so it's exciting that we can continue working on that, talking about that.
So, shall we wrap it up and say adios
I think so.
until next time? And as I said, Akira, we would be so happy if you joined us. There is a Eventbrite link to join us on the 22nd and the 23rd. All right, then. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Charlotte. Ciao, Bella.
Goodbye.
Ciao, Bella. Oh,
Bye.
all women. All women. Love that. Iman, turn your camera on for 1 second.
Sorry,
Please.
my laptop couldn't just open the camera. That's why.
Oh, never mind.
Let's see.
Never mind.
We can try to open from phone.
Usually she's in her car.
No, not today. But
It's okay, Iman. We'll get to see you.
really
Yeah.
okay because sorry, I couldn't open it.
That's okay.
I'll
So
get to see
now
you.
we definitely will say ciao.
Okay, bye.
Oh,
Bye-bye. Thank
Miss
you.
Fran,
Have a
Yes.
nice.
I was wondering, for the WhatsApp thing, for the WhatsApp group, do you like have it like that I could join if I'm allowed to? I don't know.
Oh, you're, of course you're allowed. I didn't know if that was something that you needed to clear with your parents or something like that. But I
Oh,
have
no,
your,
I
I have
have.
your text number. I have your text number. I'll just add you.
Okay, because I
Yeah.
have WhatsApp.
Perfect. Love that. Love that about you. All right. You'll be added tomorrow.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Sure. Bye-bye. Ciao,
Bye-bye.
everybody.